Hello again, everybody. This is Bobby Mills with the Bobby Mills Independent Sports Talk Show, brought to you by Cornhusker Toyota Honda. We have Zach Mayhew behind the camera, Jim Langan to my left, and guess who we have here? Mr. Tino Martinez, filling in. Well, I don't know, filling in. He's here. Eric is off for the night, doing a little light work maybe for somewhere. We're going to talk about high school sports playoffs, football. We're going to start off with. Any thoughts before we get into predictions? We're gonna, before you're done with this, you're gonna know everything about who's gonna win and who's gonna lose.
Well, first thing in the high school football playoffs, the home team is the lower seed. So right away, you're gonna have an advantage because you're gonna have a better record and higher points. So you're probably, in most cases, gonna have the best team. Plus, as you guys know, it's tough to win on the road. You know, you're in a school bus and you go from this end of the state to that end of the state. It's tough to win on the road. So all of a sudden, you know, you're really getting a kind of an advantage of playing at home. And it's kind of amazing, you know, you'll be amazed how many home teams actually win. So what's going to be unique with our program is we're going to try to figure out if there's some higher seeds that can actually win. Because, you know, it's going to take nothing to predict the Omaha North win, or, hey, I think Elkhorn South will win by 2 touchdowns, like old Bob Devaney. You know, he could have a couple teams playing. He used to predict, well, I think Elkhorn South at least will beat Omaha Gross by maybe 2 touchdowns. Well, way to put it on the line, because I'll tell you what, if Omaha Gross stays within 2 touchdowns to Elkhorn South, we'll all be amazed.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think I would mention is, you know, we've had such mild weather all fall, and no one's really had to, you know, go against weather conditions or anything like that. And it looks like Friday is going to be a nice night too, but I think as the playoffs roll on, weather could become a factor. You know, there just hasn't been any rain, any cold, anything like that that's happened yet this year, and I think that's a little unusual this far into the season.
I think that's a good point. I think it makes it difficult for defenses. You know, I mean, when you can throw the ball all over the field and et cetera, and then all of a sudden weather gets back. Because I'll tell you what, if I was going to play Texas Tech in football, I'd just as soon have it be a tremendous typhoon or a lot of wind blowing, because, you know, if they got nice weather, they're really more difficult. So I agree with you that kind of running the ball, it tends to be a little more important in the state of Nebraska in November than it does in a late game in August.
Right.
We had good weather last year, but boy, in the playoffs late, it was just brutal. And then for the state finals, it was lovely. So let's hope the weather continues. We're supposed to be in the 80s around these parts. Yeah. You know, low 80s, high 70s, both Thursday and Friday, like Dino said. So we're going to go right into Class A with predictions. And we'll start at the top of the bracket with number 1 Omaha North facing Lincoln Southwest, or the number 16 team. They got in on the last week with a win. So, like you said, your Bob Devaney prediction, sir?
Yeah, Omaha North I'm going to go out on a limb, by at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, that's bold of you.
I'm going to go with Omaha North, and they might be at that 3 touchdowns by the end of the first quarter, the way they play. So Omaha North all the way.
Yeah, I'll go with the North Vikings. And then the next one, of course, we're going to go down the line. It'll be Kearney hosting Grand Island, number 8 versus number 9. And, of course, the winner would then face Omaha North on the road, because, as you made the point last week, Class A home team gets the higher seed all the way through, which means Omaha North will be home if they win every game. How about that one, guys? Grand Island lost to Kearney in the opening game, and I don't know whether anybody knows it, but Grand Island is going to be a little missing something in the running game with David Garcia being out. Is that going to make a difference tomorrow night? Friday night?
I don't know. I'm sure that they had, and that was a weapon they really could use. You know, the thing of it is they probably outplayed Southeast last week. They lost that game. They had some opportunities. They had a tough roughing the kicker call that hurt them. They probably played out. So I kind of thought they beat Southeast last week. I have so much respect for the Grand Island coaches and the Kearney coaches. You know, my son played at Kearney High. And I have utmost respect. I get to referee a lot of JV football games. Grand Island has hired me for years to do that. This is the only game that I'm not going to pick a winner on because of the conflict that I have with those 2 schools. I'm not going to try to pick a winner, but I did predict that they would play on this show last week, if Grand Island lost. And a lot of people didn't see that coming, but I saw it right away when I looked at the points and took the time to do it. And Grand Island would have been a 5 seed, you guys, if they would have won that game, and that would have
You did
adjusted
predict
the
that
entire,
too, yep.
the entire predictions of the show. So it was kind of an interesting deal. But you guys, if you want to predict that game, go ahead. But the home team always has a little bit of an advantage.
Sure. Well, on your comment, David Garcia, he was actually absent in the first game they played too.
He
And so,
was, oh my goodness.
He went to a wedding.
So yeah, I think he was at a wedding, but as Jimmy mentioned, both head coaches and both programs are second to none, and so it's kind of hard. Maybe the home team has a little bit of advantage, and but there's been so much football played between the first week and this week. Just knowing both those coaches, I don't think either one's going to do something that surprises the other.
Probably not.
So I think it's going to come down to the wire, and not trying to dismiss myself from selecting one or the other either. I just think it's a toss-up. I mean, maybe Kearney a little bit because they're home.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think they're both going to be ready for one another.
Could be a field goal at the end of the game, huh? But I don't know how much better of a matchup you can get, and I don't think they care right now if they have to go play Omaha North. It's just a great matchup.
I talked to several people, obviously, throughout every week, and after that game, a lot of people were coming in the store or whatever and mentioning, well, I wish we could get them, not have to play them first week. Well, here you got them, so let's see what happens.
That's the only way to look at it, or don't show up, huh? And then we have a great matchup, a repeat of a game earlier, and I think in September 9th, maybe it was, Lincoln East and Lincoln Southeast. Boy, and I think Southeast won the first one, 17-14, I believe. So what's your thoughts on that? That's a great matchup, man.
Lincoln East is the best team in Class A with that seed. What seed are they? What seed are they?
Okay, they'll be number 12, but they're 5-4, and it seems like a much better
Yeah,
football
but see, they
team.
got beat by Kearney, beat them in overtime.
Yeah.
So you got an 8 seed that beats them in overtime. They're the best team with the 5-4 record in the state. If there's going to be an upset, that might be it in Class A, that first round.
Yep.
That might be the upset. Because the 8-9 and the 7-10s aren't upsets to me. That could be the upset. Lincoln Southeast is going to have to put it on to play. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick East, and that's going to be my upset in Class A.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy on Lincoln East. They played a tough schedule. Grand Island's in there as one of their losses, Kearney, and I can't remember who else, but I know their schedule maybe
Southeast
is
one of them,
Southeast
yeah.
is one of them.
Yeah.
So they've definitely been tested almost on a weekly basis. So I agree with Jimmy that they're probably the best 5-4 team available in the playoffs here in Class A. But I think I'll give the nod to Lincoln Southeast. They've also played a fairly good schedule, maybe not quite the schedule Lincoln East have, but they put up some impressive numbers, and they got some explosive receivers there with that sophomore quarterback.
yeah.
So I give the nod to Lincoln Southeast Knights.
I'll go Lincoln Southeast, and so we have,
Right. Now,
East, Southeast, Southeast, but East is a great pick anyway.
Well, one reason I like to pick East is, when all these other teams are traveling and playing on an away field,
Right.
well, where Lincoln East is going to play on their field?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
this is their football field. It's also Southeast, but, it's not like they had to drive all the way to, someplace yet.
They run down a hill.
Yeah,
and
that's
get there,
right,
man. And that's, I don't even ever think of that. And then at the bottom of this bracket, Lincoln Pius, number 13 seed against number 4, Omaha Burke. That's at Burke Stadium. Thoughts on that one? I like Burke in this one. Pius is a great football team, and they'll run the ball to death on you. But boy, Burke's got a lot of explosive players.
I'm taking Burke.
Yeah, I do think it'll be a competitive game, but I think you got to give the nod to Burke. I think their schedule again maybe has tested them a little better.
And I think they play. Yeah, I think they played a tougher schedule. Okay, Millard North and Omaha West Side, number 3 versus number 14. That's at Buell. Jimmy, I can't go.
3
with that.
seed's going to win that.
Yeah, I'll go with Millard North, man. They've just got too many weapons and missing key players from injuries, but still, everything's clicking for Freddie's team. And now we have Norfolk, I believe, is playing Creighton Prep. Norfolk's 11, Prep is 6. I think that game's at Benson, it's regardless where it is, but anybody think Norfolk has a legitimate shot here?
They have a chance. This is not an automatic win. Creighton Prep's defense hasn't been great.
Right.
No.
You know what I mean? But their offense has been pretty good, and Creighton Prep is going to score a lot of points.
Right.
So Norfolk's going to have to score with them.
That's the only way they're going to win, Pino, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you looked at Creighton's Pep scores, it's probably not the type of team they're used to having, especially defensively.
Yeah.
But I think, with the way they can score points, I like Creighton Prep in that one.
Some of them look like 8-man scores. And then toward the bottom of the bracket, Millard West, number 7, hosting Papillion. La Vista South, number 10. That might be the best matchup of this bottom bracket, to me, anyway.
Yeah, of the bottom bracket for
Yeah,
sure.
the
That,
bottom
like I said,
yeah.
8, 9, 7, 10. I can throw it there. And I, you know as well as I do that Kearney would just soon be the 10 seed. If you're planning to win the state championship, going as far as you can,
Well,
and so would Grand Island like to be
sure.
the 10
Right,
seed.
right.
But they're both 8 and 9 with Omaha North, so
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting situation there. The 7 and 10s are at least going, hey, whoever wins this got a shot down here.
Shot,
Yeah, right.
Continue. I do think, Wald Olson has a lot of experience there
Oh,
at
boy.
Papio South, and they've played better lately than they did early, and so, I mean, if I was gonna pick an upset in that, I'd pick Papio South to win over, them in the first round.
How can you miss with a running back that's got a first name of Finest? Finest Hampton, 777 yards the last 4 games. And the bottom one, the Lincoln High Lynx sneak in there. They really didn't sneak because they have a 5-4 record playing against Bellevue West, who all of a sudden is passing for a ton of yards with Joe Dolenchek. I'm going to have to go with Bell West on this one myself.
Me too, but congratulations to
Oh,
Lincoln High because
man.
there's 28 schools that play Class A football, and it wasn't too long ago that Lincoln High, and I'm not talking about not last year, because they've improved the last 4 years, but they get a little bit better on defense, and they found a way to run the ball, and they bought into their system, and sometimes, your goal is not to win the state championship. Sometimes your goal is, we're gonna get in the
Right.
playoffs.
Right.
Hey, let's find a way to get into the playoffs, and I think that's what Lincoln High did. They got into the playoffs, and not only that, I'll bet they're happy they're the 15 seed instead of 16.
Oh, boy. They might have some pretty good friends. Anyway, we're going to look at Class B now. This is not as wide open as C1, but Class B, of course, now we've got another Omaha, maybe Omaha or Elkhorn South. And Omaha Groves, number 16 versus number 1, might be a Omaha North type matchup there. What do you think? I think Elkhorn South is unbelievable. I don't think they're as dominant as Omaha North is in Class A. Any thoughts, Jimmy?
I think they're the same. I
Are
actually
they?
think,
You're right.
I think Elkhorn South, now the only exception I might have is Gretna, and might be able to play a little bit with them. But they have, when they beat York first week,
Oh, boy.
35-3, and then I think York beat McCook, you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's the 4 seed. To me, and McCook's got a nice football team, but they're winning a lot of games by 7 points and 7 points and 7 points. Elkhorn South hasn't beaten anybody by 7 points. You know what I mean? Now they beat Gretna. One time had a close game with Gretna, but boy, they are dominating Class B, and they are beating teams that are 7-2 and 6-3 records. So I like Elkhorn South.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the gaps, I think it's similar, maybe to Omaha North, but I think there's definitely a gap there between them and the rest of Class B, but I definitely like Elkhorn South in the
And
first round game.
they hit the ground running when they played York that first game. They looked like they had 3 or 4 games under their belt. So, right next to them is a Grand Island Kearney matchup. Number 9 York banged up against number 8 Aurora. Aurora won the first game on an extra point that York may not have been prepared for. So, what do you think? And now, is Austin Allen going to be back for Aurora? There's another question. Can't be in any football shape, maybe if he is, but York's missing an all-state quarterback nominee and an all-state linebacker, as well as Damon Califf was, fullback. So what do you think about that? You think Glenn Snodgrass and these boys have a shot?
Oh, definitely got a shot. Both
But, I mean,
teams.
you know,
this is.
Oh.
I'd be very surprised if the winner of this game would beat Elkhorn South. I think York was getting better as the season went on. They were getting to prove it. And then they got the injuries and the injury bug hit, and that's too bad. Aurora's been good all year. They've had some close games that, they lost, and they had a game that they win. And, so Aurora's been an exciting team, too. And they lost a really good football player, like you said,
Yeah.
and didn't get to play with them. But I just think it's an interesting matchup, and I'd have no idea. I guess the only reason I'd take Aurora because they're the home team.
Yeah,
And
me
Timmy,
too,
you
but
can-
it's, I think it's another great matchup. It's, as you mentioned, the Grand Island Kearney and Aurora York, matchup is really what playoff football is about. And
That's
I
it.
think it's gonna be a great atmosphere there at Aurora, but 2 very well-coached teams, and, it'll be a great one to watch if you're able to get to it, I would assume.
And don't think that York's fill-in quarterback or second-string quarterback. Now, first-string quarterback isn't a good quarterback, but he's very capable, as he
Coach-
proved against Northwest.
Yeah, Coach Snodgrass will not make any excuses.
No.
He's gonna say, no, this is what we got, this is what happened, this is
That's
part
right.
of the game. He's gonna move right along. He's done this time and time again. He's had a lot of success at Overton. Turned this
Oh,
program around.
man.
Congratulations to York High School about turning this program around. I'll bet you they spent a little time in the weight room.
He's one of my favorite coaches, yeah. And then we get the Blair Bears, the number 12 seed, go clear to the other end of the state, as Jim was talking about. They go out to Scottsbluff, Joe Benson's boys. Sometimes lose at home, but I don't think this time I'm going to take Scottsbluff.
Me too,
Bearcats in this
Scottsbluff.
one.
Yeah, I think, Jim made the comment about the home team having an advantage. Scottsbluff's gonna have a big advantage. I don't think those boys from Blair have made that trip very often in their lifetime, so, Scottsbluff, I think, has a big home field advantage here.
You know, going to Chicago is about the same trip.
Yeah.
Blair
Well,
to Chicago,
yeah,
Illinois
it seems
is
like-
about the same trip. as
Exactly.
going- In fact, check the mileage.
Okay, well, they might as well be going to Chicago to watch some baseball. Number 13, GI Northwest, goes out to McCook, and I don't think they've met this year in the regular season, so what do you think about that one? I'll have to go with Jeff Gross and his McCook boys, new principal Jeff Gross, by the way. How about that?
Well, yeah, I think that what Grand Island Northwest has done this year surprised a lot of people. I guess I wasn't completely surprised because I noticed how they turned that program around, and they actually, their JV program and playing games and doing all the things they did about getting prepared
Yeah.
and finding ways in their athleticism they had over the years. They've had a great season. This is a tough draw. Just because not only McCook goes to the playoffs all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not catching somebody going, hey, we're the 4th seed. Dang it. I wonder what it's like being the 4th seed. I mean, how many times has McCook been in the top 4
That's
seeds?
a low seed for them.
Yeah, and so Northwest is gonna have to win the turnover margin to win this game. If they don't win the turnover margin, McCook will win the game.
Right, yeah, they have a sophomore quarterback out there in Northwest who, has really thrown the ball, really well. Carter Terry, he's gonna have to come up big with some big numbers like he has done in order for them to be able to have a chance, but I like McCook at home.
I do too.
468 and 468. Chicago, Scottsbluff.
He's right, Zach. How about that information? And how accurate is Mr. Langen here?
Unbelievable.
All right, number 11 Norris versus number 6 Elkhorn. That's a good matchup. It's in Elkhorn, part of a doubleheader. First game begins at 4:30 at that double dip thing. That's a good matchup. Norris rallies to beat Beatrice final game of the season. I know Elkhorn's pretty good. I know their coach has been around a little bit. Yeah, Mr. Workman. So, boy, I'd hate to pick against Elkhorn, but man, I'll tell you what. Norris has got a pretty nice football team. They run the football.
I'm going with Elkhorn because they got a guy named John Backus that'll
Oh, yeah.
be more prepared than any other assistant
Boy,
coach
I'll tell you what.
in the pregame warm-up.
He may
Okay.
be,
I
yeah.
wonder if he still runs that. When
He does. I've
He
been
goes out
told.
there, he runs that, and he'll give that ball to the fullback and he'll carry out his
Carries
fake.
out his
Yep.
fake.
Carry out his fake, and which is amazing if you're 25 years old.
Yeah.
You're a 25-year-old quarterback, and you just did that, a couple of years ago when you were playing in the NFL and you got cut.
And he'll
Backus was a quarterback at Kearney State College in the early 70s.
and he'll have shorts on, Jimmy.
Oh, here we go.
Friday would be okay because it's 80, but
Yeah.
I've seen him on the state final in shorts when it's bitter cold.
He's a tough guy, folks. I think we're going, well, is anybody going to pick against Elkhorn? You, Jimmy?
I'm not gonna.
All right. And then I've seen people this next matchup, number 10 Beatrice, at upstart Columbus, who drops down from Class A and has a terrific year. I've seen people, Stu Pospisil for one, pick Columbus in this game.
He did.
He did. So what do you think? You think Columbus? I'm going to have to go Beatrice. I don't know why. I love Columbus. They've got a nice team, but I saw them play Scott, and that's the wrong game to watch Columbus.
Who you taking, Tino?
I think I'll take Columbus, looking at they've actually played a pretty good schedule.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, they're used to playing much bigger schools, and being a Class A team for so long, so, I like Columbus in this game.
If I'm in a different state and I just pulled in and I read that, I'm gonna take Beat Rice.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna take Beatrice, but hey, you know what, like I said, that's one of the few that maybe is, a road team maybe has a shot to win, yeah.
They do. And the final matchup would be Omaha Roncalli, number 15, against the Gretna Dragons, number 2. I'm gonna have to go with Gretna. on
Gretna
this one,
too.
Phil.
I'll take
I mean,
Gretna.
they're just, I mean, the one, yeah, I don't know what their record is. If they lost more, well, they did lose more than one game.
They lost 2, but I'm still going with the Green Dragons.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we've covered Class A and Class B. We're gonna take a little break. We'll be back to cover C1, C2, D1, D2, and, boy, there's a lot to cover here. And if you're not planning on going to a game, please get out and see a football game because, man, the weather's gonna be perfect. So, for Cornhusker, Toyota, Honda, Tina Martinez, Jim Langen, we'll be back with the lower classes right after this.